Hello, everyone. Coming up here on the NXT Ring Report after Stand Deliver. As you see right here, Dragon Lee, the newly signed star, the WWE signs his makes his NXT debut against Nathan Frazier. How Dragon Lee fared tonight, as well as this. Indy Hartwell, the new NXT Women's Champion, she had an eventful night at Stand Deliver. We'll hear from her, as well as Donegan Dijak taking on Aussie Jones that cost him a tie opportunity as well. Well as this, the host of NXT Stand Deliver, Pretty Deadly, are in action against Stacks and Tony D'Angelo. And we get to see and hear from Carmelo Hayes, the new NXT champion, make his in-ring celebration. We'll talk about this and more. And also, too, coming up, we'll talk about Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon, that stunning announcement from yesterday. He officially sold his company to Endeavor, and we'll get back to what Vince is going to be doing and his responsibilities and stuff. All this and more when the Pro Wrestling Show presents the Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Pro Wrestling Show presents the NXT Ring Report. I'm your host, as always, Kendra Dix here. Glad you can join us here on the NXT Ring Report. The after Stand and Deliver, we had a lot going on. What an eventful Stand and Deliver it was. Like I said, Stand and Deliver provided a lot of clarity from NXT. We didn't do a Stand and Deliver review. We was gonna wait and leave it for tonight so we can hash back and see what had happened and stuff. Like I said, this has been an eventful week. I tell you that right now. Um, like I said, it's been an eventful week. It has been an eventful week. We'll get that. First thing first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling Show. I meant to say Val, but I'm sorry, y'all. Pro Wrestling Show. Join in that conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling Show. Man, oh man, we got a lot to get through tonight. So let's not waste no time whatsoever. We're gonna kick it off with this. Indy Hartwell, the new NXT Women's Champion, she came out there. Indy Hartwell, all smiles. She finally won the big one. She's now the new NXT Women's Champion. Indy Hartwell now coming out there. I don't like Indy Hartwell. She's beautiful. She has a great accent, Australian accent, and she can relate. She's been one of Booker T's students. It's too sad to say that Roxanne Perez didn't leave out NXT as the women's champion. We don't know how far her condition is, but Indy Hartwell offered to wrestle Roxanne whenever Roxanne was feeling better to get her shot at the opportunity. Well, Zoe Starks did not like that one bit. Zoe Starks came out there to confront and challenge the champion for a match. She felt like Indy Hartwell was able to do what she did, and everybody passing through her. And Zoe Starks won a shot at the NXT Women's title. And Indy Hartwell wanted to be a fighting champion, accepted the challenge. So later on, we'll tell you what had happened with that. Also, too, North American title on my mind. As Wesley takes on Axamon. Wesley takes on Axamon in the match, and like I said, that match was since I think Wesley won. Yeah. So Wesley won his match. But Norm Dar came out the weeds to reserve. So Norm Dar returning. That's whatever you call himself. Norm Dar coming back to glance the eye. He was the Heritage Cup winner, and he wants a shot at the NXT title somewhere down the road. Well, as did Donovan Dijak won his match. Forgot who he won his match against, but Dijak looked at impressive as well. So Dijak get the win. This is the one I'm gonna tell you. Wesley and Axamon had that match, so Wesley and Axamon put in a good classic and stuff. What is that? Okay, this is it. Against he went against Odyssey Jones and he defeated Odyssey Jones. At, what's his name? Also, too, Dragon Lee makes his debut. Dragon Lee took on Nathan Frazier. Dragon Lee, he was in AEW for a minute, but he took on the young upstart Nathan Frazier. Dragon Lee won his match over Nathan Frazier and did so by a victory over Nathan Frazier, put him a hard fought matchup. Speaking of that, Cora J returned. Cora J returned to cause disruption after she's she's been targeting Indy Hartwell, and Cora J looking forward to getting that opportunity against Indy Hartwell somewhat down the road. But Cora J came out there. She was supposed to have a match with what's her name, and I think they'll have a match down the road. So we'll get to see that match sooner rather than later. But Cora J's back in NXT. Well, a lot of people back, even a lot of women. What's her name? Tiffany Stratton won a shot at the championship as well. So there's a lot of people gunning for um Indy Hartwell as Indy is the new women's champion. Speaking of that, Pretty Deadly, the host of Stand and Deliver, Pretty Deadly came out there to host Stand and Deliver, but they got Stand and Deliver also. They got beat by Tony Stacks and the Don. So Tony Stacks and the Don taking down you know who. Speaking of that, Iron Now won her match. Iron Now been a proven commodity this week, so Ivory Now trying to get the job done and stuff. You know how that be. So hey, with Ivory Now getting it done, him too. Also too, Ian Dragon I called out with forgot his name. He called them out, and these two will meet next week. Ian Dragon are taking on Von Wagner. If Von loses, Mr. Stone will leave, will not be associated with Mr. Wagner no more. Von Wagner still trying to find himself, find his footing, but he got a lot to prove as well to take on Ian Dragon on next week. So we'll get to see that match coming up as well. Speaking of that, we're on the lineup for next week. We speaking of Dragonoff versus Wagner. So Wagner loses. Like I said, Miss Stone leaves. Cora J, she returns. She'll be live next week. Explain her actions. Do she want the NXT Women's title? That's what like she wants to do. Either be Cora J or Tiffany Stratton getting the belt out the Indy Hartwell down the road. Speaking of that, I kind of would see Cora J because her and I didn't want to go off topic, but her and Roxanne Perez got a lot of history, so Roxanne can easily win from Cora J down the road. So we'll get to see that as well. Also, too, Duke Hudson, he will be presented the MVP award after many people thought last week, especially Saturday, this past Saturday, that he was going to turn on Chase U and cost him to be controlled under what's his name, under Schism, but that didn't be the case. Schism no longer can control Chase U. Schism got their own problems as the Grizzly Young Vets. We'll talk about that later on. They're no longer part of NXT no more. Also, two women's tag team matches on the line. Issa Dunn and what's her name? They take on the former champ Katana James and Fowler Henry. Fowler Henry and Katana James get their championships back. We'll just have to wait and see on that. Speaking of that, what's the final? Carmelo Hayes. He is him. Now Carmelo Hayes has found the NXT championship. Carmelo Hayes finally wins the big one and winning it bad in NXT. Carmelo Hayes has done it by winning the NXT championship. Carmelo Hayes had that celebration. His celebration was coming up next. And Trent Williams and all of them. Carmelo Hayes came out there to the ovation. And we thought Carmelo and Braun was going to be peaceful and stuff. Braun Breaker came out there and tried to congratulate Carmelo, saying that when he was NXT champion, Braun said that Tommaso champion gave him respect, but that was not the case. Braun didn't show no sportsmanship. He turned around, clothesline Carmelo Hayes, leaving Carmelo Hayes down lane, even Trick Williams down lane. I think Braun Breaker just he was trying to be like his dad at first. Now he's more like his uncle. He just don't give a damn. Uncle Scotty. One thing I like about Big Papa Pump was he was talking nonsense, but he could kick your ass. I think they were Braun Breaker gonna do. He talking nonsense, and everyone was expecting him to go to the main roster. I don't think Braun Breaker going to the main roster no time soon. Right now, not right now. And Braun Breaker he's gonna want to win that championship back. Carmelo did his thing by winning the championship at Stand and Deliver, and it was a moment that many people won't forget. But Carmelo won it. Congratulations to Carmelo, but he's gonna have bigger problems. What they say now, since you're the champion, you're gonna be targeted more ways than one. So Carmelo has to watch himself, what he does and stuff. So we'll see how that's gonna go coming up next week, and then weeks on the road and the weeks towards NXT Battleground in May. So hey, we'll get to look and see that. All right, that's gonna end your NXT Ring Report. We're gonna move forward to Wrestling Hot Topics. On Wrestling Hot Topics, we're gonna talk about this. We want to remember Bushwhacker Bush. He passed away at the age of 78. Bushwhacker Bush of the Headbangers. He was I'd say that they did a lot of stuff. Bushwhacker Butch. I remember Luke and Butch or the Bushwhackers came out there, and they were the sheep herders. Now they became the Bushwhackers to come around and do the ring and do all that, and they're gonna be missed. Bushwhackers. I remember the Bushwhackers. Um, God rest their soul. What they do life. So speaking of that, Mr. McMahon, we told you during yesterday's pro wrestling show, Raw Ring Report, that Vince is back in charge of creative. We told you that Vince brought the WWE in 1982 for $1 million, and now he's selling the WWE for 9.3 billion. That's the biggest. That's like a flip. You flip it over, and that's your investment. I mean, Vince McMahon, do all that, what's going on with his sexual investigation, sexual misconduct. The man's smart when it comes to flipping money like that, and now he's gonna work under the same umbrella with Endeavor, with UFC and WWE. Man, I mean, you never would have imagined, never would have thought Dana White and Vince McMahon, all of them gonna work together, and how that's gonna fall into place. We have to wait and see on that. But they said right here, Vince went from he's retired to he's only about to facilitate a sale to okay, he's minimally involved, the creator, to he's only the big picture creator and not details. And Vince just sent a note 2 hours into Raw saying, "What? What he said? He sent a note that Rock should smash." So I guess Vince McMahon back in control again. That's one thing they say. You can't run an old head out of the building. Vince McMahon back, and he has the new mustache to prove it. He probably calls himself Vince Nito McMahon. Vince Nito no man. The internet. He said, "I'm gonna be a new Zappy." Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon now. Back in control, creator. It's gonna run away, but like I said, this is gonna continue on going. So the details are that Vince sold his company to Endeavor, and now Endeavor is the new owners of WWE, but Vince is still under the management team as the executive chairman. How that's gonna work out, we just have to wait and see on how that's gonna play out. Also, too, NXT saying they're bringing 3 new stars. I guess these stars came from Level Up, so we'll be seeing them coming soon. Yuma Finta, Danny Palmer, and Tank Ledger are all coming, so we'll just have to wait and see how that's going to play out. Speaking of that, Oscar sent this. Fan sent this to Oscar. Oscar had to reply back. Oscar said she ain't going nowhere, so hey, Oscar's not going nowhere. I don't blame him. He get rid of Oscar. Speaking of that, Finn Balor. Finn Balor showed his stitches. Ooh, look at that gash. Edge was being too hard on Finn like that. And Finn's skull, his scalp got the heel like that. Man, one thing about Finn Balor, he's tough. He's tough. I think Edge should, if an Edge, I don't know if they're playing that, Edge should have known better doing that to Finn Balor, and Finn Balor taking that to the chin, brave up to Finn Balor. But I think Finn Balor should have won that. It's a passion on the guard, but Edge, you know how Edge is, so and that be. Speaking of that, Charlotte Flair reportedly going to take some time off from losing the SmackDown Women's title to Rhea Ripley. Charlotte Flair is talking about doing bodybuilding, and we don't know her husband Andrade. I would like to see Andrade come back to AEW. I think he's coming back to WWE. You know, he's got that good relationship with Triple H, but I don't know how that's gonna go this time around with WWE. But let's hope and see. Andrade did something during the Vince McMahon era, won the U.S. title, and we just have to wait and see how that's gonna play out for Andrade. But I think Andrade is coming back to WWE sooner rather than later. Him and Zelina was a good couple. I looked at that like that was a good couple, but you never know. So Jay White, Switchblade, um, he hasn't made a decision. If he come to the now, he should don't sign nothing until you know what's going on. But you should know what you're getting if you're gonna sign up with Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon back, but I hate to say Jay White go to WWE and not be happy. I think he got to go to AEW where he'd be more showcased with his abilities. So, like, speaking of the AEW founder Cody Rhodes, they showed this art of him being stumped by Brock. Remember that? Stumped by Brock Lesnar. Everybody getting smashed tonight. Even when I was telling you about Vince, with Brock smashing Vince, and this was the tweet that said this. But so hey, we getting to see it with Vince saying. So Vince coming in, making these changes, even to Cody Rhodes. So hey, that's what they're gonna be. I think that's it. And like I said, it was we saw that with Cody last night on Raw being smashed by Brock, and Brock reestablished himself as a established dominant monster heel. And I think we're doing the same with Braun when he's doing to Carmelo, reestablish himself and becoming a heel rather than babyface and dominant heel. Or you're gonna see the same on SmackDown. Who's coming on SmackDown this week? So we have to wait and see on that. All right, we're gonna leave you with that. Braun Breaker destroying Carmelo Hayes, leaving him out defenseless. I've been your host, Kendrick Dick, saying so long. Thank you for watching the NXT Report. We'll see you tomorrow for the AEW Dynamite Report. See you then.